Hello, I'm David Chaston with 90 at 9, brought to you by interest.co.nz. This week, get everything you need to know in 90 seconds at 9 o'clock with news of a major Aussie pre-election budget sweetener focused on tax cuts. But first, all the news headlines are about the Americans walking away from the Iran deal. But in the real economy, the number of job openings in the US rose above 6.5 million in March, far above analysts' estimates. Still, Wall Street was down more than 0.5% on the news, although near the close the losses are being pared. Canadian housing starts fell 4.9% in April, marking the fourth monthly decline in 5 months, and declines in construction on both single-detached homes and multi-unit dwellings. China reported a trade surplus of $28.8 billion in April, a sharp seasonal turnaround from the $5 billion deficit in March. However, it logged a surplus of $22.2 billion against the United States, and that widened from a surplus of $15.4 billion the previous month, marking its first month-on-month rise since November. But this gain is more to do with the timing of the Chinese New Year holiday than actual trade growth. With their largest export market slowing, that's the EU, China's trade prospects are facing a general slowdown, even without what the Americans are doing. And in Beijing, China's main banks have raised mortgage rates for first-home buyers to 4.79%, a rise of 22 basis points. And the Swiss jobless rate dropped to 2.7%, and they have a relatively high participation rate of 68.6%. New Zealand's numbers are 4.4% and 70.8%. The German current account surplus for March came in at 29.1 billion euros, slightly lower than the 32.7 billion in the same month in 2017. It's a strong result again, keeping Germany on its collision course with the US. However, almost 59% of their exports go to other EU countries, with the US only being the customer for only 7.4% of them, a smaller proportion than China. And Argentina has begun talks with the IMF for a new $30 billion credit line as they try to contain the resumption of the depreciation of their currency. Raising benchmark interest rates to 40% only worked for a few days. And the latest Australian budget has announced tax cuts for most people, but higher costs for business. Personal rates are being cut for about 10 million people, tax brackets are being adjusted, and the system is being flattened. The budget also envisages a return to surplus in the year after next. There is a significant addition to spending on aged care, and there is more spending for both roads and some rail projects. There are no significant increases in charges, fees or other taxes. And there is a clampdown on the cash economy. Payments over $10,000 in cash will become illegal. US Treasury 10-year yield is now at 2.97%. That's 2.97. It was touching just under 3% earlier, but the US decision on the Iran deal has seen it fall back somewhat. The Chinese 10-year is up to 3.7%, that's 3 basis points rise, while the New Zealand equivalent is at 2.78%, that's down 1 basis point. Gold is now at $1,316 an ounce in New York, that's up a couple of dollars. Oil prices, however, have fallen more than $1 in the US to $69.50 a barrel, but less for the Brent benchmark, which is now at $75.50 a barrel. And the Kiwi dollar is down 0.5 cent against the greenback at 69.7 US cents and breaching the 70 US cents mark for the first time since December 2017. On the cross rates, we're fairly stable, still at 93.6 Aussie cents and 58.7 euro cents. That does put the TWI down, however, to 72.5. I'm David Chaston. That was 90 at 9, brought to you by interest.co.nz.